Hello everyone, welcome to your English class. We'll continue with the explanation of Unit-7, Gogol's First Day, Part-3. Ashok hands over the lunchbox and a windbreaker in case it gets cold. He thanks Mrs. Lapidus. Be good, Nikhil, he says in English. And then, after a moment's hesitation, he is gone. When they are alone, Mrs. Lapidus asks, Are you happy to be entering elementary school, Gogol? My parents want me to have another name in school. And what do you want? And what about you, Gogol? Do you want to be called by another name? After a pause, he shakes his head. Now, here in para number 25, it's being told that when it was time for Ashok to go to leave the place, Ashok handed over a lunchbox and a windbreaker. Windbreaker is a thin coat which can resist cold wind and light rain. He handed over a windbreaker for the boy and he thanked Mrs. Lapidus and said to Nikhil to be good. And after that, after a little bit hesitation, he just leaves the place. When Mr. Ashok was gone, Mrs. Lapidus asked Gogol if he was happy to be entering an elementary school. After some time, Gogol replied that my parents want me to have another name in school. He said that his parents want him to have another name in school. Then, when she heard Gogol talking in English and replying to her, she continued the conversation and asked him what he wanted. She asked him if he also wanted to be called by another name. After a pause, Gogol shook his head. Is that a no? He nods yes. Then, when he shook his head, Mrs. Lapidus was not able to understand it. She inquired about it and she said if it was a no. He again nodded his head and said yes. Then it's settled. Can you write your name on this piece of paper? Here in para number 21, then it's settled means it is agreed or decided. Mrs. Lapidus said then now it's decided, and then she asked Gogol if he could write his name on the piece of paper. Gogol picks up a pencil, grips it tightly, and forms the letter of the only word he has learned thus far to write from memory, getting the L backward due to nervous. Now here he started in para number 32. It's being told that Gogol started writing his name on the form. And here it's also being said that as Gogol was nervous, his L was leaning a little bit backward due to his nervousness. What beautiful penmanship you have, Mrs. Lapidus says. Mrs. Lapidus encouraged the boy and said that his handwriting is very nice. Penmanship means handwriting. She tears up the old registration form and asks Mrs. McNabb to type up a new one. Then she takes Gogol by the hand and they walk down a hallway with painted cement walls. She opens a door and Gogol is introduced to his teacher, Miss Wickens, a woman with hair in two braids, wearing overalls and clogs. Inside the classroom, it is a small universe of nicknames. Now here it's being told that when Gogol wrote his name on the new form, Mrs. Lapidus tore up the old one and asked Mrs. McNabb to type a new form. Then she takes Gogol by hand and they walk down the hall, and then she opened a door, and what was inside the door? There was a small universe of small little kids having nicknames. What kind of nicknames were given to them? Andrew is Andy, Alexandra Sandy, William Billy, Elizabeth Lizzie. It is nothing like the schooling Gogol's parents have known. Fountain pens and polished black shoes and notebooks and good names and sir or madam at a young age. It's being told in this paragraph that the schooling which was known to the elderly persons, or you can say that the schooling is not at all like before. It has become very friendly to the kids, and it's very it's like providing a home far from a home. Means you could say that the kids feel like home in their places, and it's not like the old schooling method where the students have to carry fountain pens and have to wear polished shoes, notebooks, and they have to use words like sir and madam at a very young age. And the name of his class teacher was Miss Watkins. Miss Watkins was a woman who had two braids. Two braids means she had two ponytails. Wearing overalls and clogs. Overalls and clogs means overalls are a garment consisting of trouser with a piece of cloth covering the chest, held up by straps over the shoulders. And clogs means shoes with thick wooden soles. Now let's move on to para number 34. At the end of his first day, he is sent home with a letter to his parents from Mrs. Lapidus explaining that due to their son's preference, he will be known as Gogol at school. What about the parents' preference? Ashima and Ashok wonder, shaking their heads, but since neither of them feels comfortable pressing the issue, they have no choice but to give in. And so Gogol's education begins. At the top of sheets of scratchy pale yellow paper, he writes out his pet name again and again. Now, as we have read para number 34, it's being written here that after the first day was ended, when he was being sent back to his home, a letter was handed over to him from Mrs. Lapidus, and it was explaining the reason why Gogol's name will be Gogol at school. It said that due to their son's preference, due to Mr. Ashok and Mrs. Ashima's son's preference, the name of their son will be Gogol at school. Ashok and Ashima thought in their minds that what about the preference of parents? Then they were not, it's also written in the last two lines that they were not comfortable in pressing the issue. Pressing the issue means insisting that something be done. They were not comfortable in that, so they had no choice but to give in. And so Gogol's education began. At the top of the sheets of scratchy pale yellow paper, he writes out his pet name again and again. It's being said that on the top of the yellow scratchy paper, he was writing his pet name, means a name which was used at home by a family or friends. He was writing that name on the top of it, as well as the alphabet in capitals and lowercase. He was writing it in a very proper way, in both the ways, you can say, in alphabets also and in lowercase also. He learns to add and subtract and to spell his first words. On the front covers of his textbook, he writes his name in pencil. In art class's favorite hour of the week, he carves his name with paper clips into the bottom of a clay pot, clay cups and bowls. He pastes uncooked pasta onto cardboard and leaves his signature in fat brush strokes below paintings. Here it's being told whatever he did in his class. It's being said that he was writing his names on textbooks and on clay cups and bowls. He also uh, pasted cooked uncooked pastas on the cardboard, leaving his signature in fat brush strokes below. This is all what he was getting in the classes, and he was continuously writing his name. He was so happy with his name that he was writing it everywhere as his signature. Day after day, he brings his creation home to Ashima, who hangs them proudly on the refrigerator door. Gogol G. He signs his work in the lower right hand corner as if there were a need to distinguish him from any other Gogol in the school. In the last para, uh, the speaker of this lesson is saying that day after day, when as the boy was making new creations, he used to bring them home, and Ashima, his mother, used to hang them proudly on the refrigerator door, and all those works had Gogol's signature on the lower right hand corner as if it was necessary to distinguish him. Distinguish him means to differentiate him from other Gogols which were present at school. Now that's all for today. Thank you and have a good day.